So the recording has started, and this is a webinar for Dynamics Excel Fixed Assets from Plumbline Consulting. Today, I'm your presenter, Valerie Borak. I've been with Plumbline Consulting for a year. I came over from Progressive System Solutions when we were acquired, and I have been selling these products or fixed assets for now 8 years. Plumbline Consulting has been around for over 25 years. We have a lot of development and consulting experience. We are headquartered in Findlay, Ohio. Our staff is 50 plus and growing on a daily basis, and we have over 100 add-on products for Dynamics SL, and we have more coming out in the next few months as well. All of our products were created using the same tools that were used to create Dynamics SL. So they sit on the menu, they seamlessly integrate with the other modules, they have the same lookup F3 functionalities, they have the same security features, they use crystal reports, and almost all the products are sold by the customer ID number, not a user count. With that, I'm going to switch over to my demo system so that I can show you fixed assets. But in case any of you are attending the SL User Group conference, we will be at booth 19, so please stop by and see us. And let me switch screens over here. You should all, be seeing my demo system, and you should see fixed assets. If you are not seeing fixed assets, please raise your hand. Everything, and I forgot to mention this, after the webinar or after I'm done going through the fixed asset demo, you can enter your questions in the chat and I will attempt to answer them for you or get back to you if I do not have an answer. So as you see in front of you, fixed assets, and just let me do one thing over here. Fixed assets sits on your financial menu, okay? So it's going to drill down to AP, purchasing, GL, project controller, a number of different modules. I'm going to start by going over the fixed asset setup screen. With this screen, you'll see here that the account default information here is just like your AR or your GL setup. You're going to default a lot of your accounts into the setup screen so that there's less that you need to do down the road. Right here you see Update GL. What this button is going to do is allow you to, once you have the system set up, allow you to post transactions directly to your GL. This will happen in your depreciation, or when you're posting your depreciation, when you're making transfers of assets, when you're closing a WIP account and creating an asset. This functionality has to be turned on so the transactions will be created in GL. If it is not turned on, the transactions will not be posted to your GL. The second tab here shows a lot of our integration information. We integrate with project. We integrate a lot with different functionalities for accounts payable. Here you see that we have a location table. We have our fixed asset system is a full location tracking system. So you can either use our location table that you can create within the system, or if you have sub-accounts set up for your locations, you can choose the sub-account option, and this will allow you to use your sub-accounts for your locations that you already have created. Next, I'm going to show you our custom tab. This tab allows you to set up 25 custom fields within the system. So this tab that you create down here, tab name, you can name it whatever you want. And this tab will show up in the main fixed asset screen, and any field that you create in this setup will then show on that tab on the fixed asset screen as well. So if there's something that we do not track in our system that you would like to track and be able to report back on, you can create those tabs here instead of having a customization created for you. Next, I'm going to go into our actual product and how we do that is to go over the maintenance screens first, because you have to have your maintenance screens obviously set up before you can start pulling information into the system. So how do we set up our fixed assets? Everything we have in fixed assets is all stored within book information, okay? So you can have you can create as many books as you want. Actual is usually your like internal depreciation. You can see, or we actually post ours to the ledger. You can have as many books as you want, so tax, AMT, state. You can lock down, excuse me, you can lock down a period, or you can actually post to different fiscal periods if you would like. So you set up all your books within the book code screen. Then once you have the book code screen set up, you then will be moving on to our fund sources and our retirement methods. These are both things that you can set up in the system to track information on your assets. So your fund sources, how you purchased it, did the information come in as a grant or a lease? Your retirement methods, did the assets come in, or were they retired, were they donated, were they sold, were they stolen? If they were stolen, you could then go and pull a report that says, give me all the assets that were stolen from a specific location, and have a report that shows you all those assets that were stolen. So maybe you could figure out if you're having a theft problem in a specific place. That's just an example of how you could use the retirement method code screens to help in your reporting. After you've filled out your retirement methods and your fund sources, we then want you to move into classes and categories. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I would want to do depreciation methods. Let's do depreciation methods first. You have to set up all of your depreciation method. The system, is set up with all the standard depreciation methods. So we have straight line, double declining balance, sum of the year's digits, units of production. All of those are already created within the system. We also have the IRS tax tables, and with your maintenance plan, we update the IRS tax tables on a yearly basis whenever they're released. We also have luxury auto limits, bonus, and Section 179 limits. So you choose just so I can show you some information here. We also have custom declining balance rates, as well as you could create your own tabular method if the method within the system, or if our system doesn't have the method you're looking to use, you can create your own custom method and save it and then apply it within the system. So these are your depreciation methods. The next, we're going to show you classes and categories, and this is the way that we group our assets within the system. So classes is going to be your larger picture, like furniture or vehicles, and categories is going to be the more granular look at it, like desks, chairs, things, trucks, vans, things of that nature. So within the category screen, so you're going to F3 here and you're going to choose your class, and then you're going to F3 here and you can choose your category or create your category. Now with the categories, for example, you might want to have a category for all of your different IT functions or things like that. You can set up your default accounts and sub-accounts for this category. You designate the book. Remember I just said everything is stored in books, so you can have as many books for a category as you want. You can come down here and you can put as many books in here as you would like, and I'm going to scroll across so you can see that information. So usually people will set up a property for, like, say example, a 3-year or 5-year property. Anything going into those groupings are usually going to have the same default for all of its accounts and all of its books for that grouping. So what your category is basically doing is giving you the ability to put in all the default information, set it up and save it, so that when you're creating an asset down the road, you do not have to add in the default or the accounts, the books that you want for that specific class and category. Now you can always change it once you're creating the asset, but it will default when you choose the class and category, so this information will be available to you without having to key it in. Next up, I'm going to go into the main fixed assets screen. And in the main fixed assets screen, you will see all the information for a particular asset. So I'm going to go through this screen and point out all the main functionality for you. That with our fixed asset system, you track your main asset ID number. It's auto-populated for you. You can also have your another main company number. Say if you have an old fixed asset system and you want to keep that old tracking number, you can put that here. You can have a name here, whatever you want, but you do have the ability to put a secondary label. We do track non-fixed assets. So if this is a non-fixed asset, you could just check the box and still be able to track all of its information. We give you the ability to track sub-assets, and you can have as many sub-assets as you would like for a particular asset. So say this was a computer and you wanted to add a hard drive to it, you could create the hard drive as a sub-asset, track it across a completely different set of periods, but the costs and everything all rolls up under one asset. Down here, we have that fund source we spoke about. Did you get this information, or did you buy this asset from a grant or using a grant or a lease or anything of that nature? You choose your class and your category, as well as we have an inventory tracking system, so you can put in the last time this asset was inventoried. Down here, you would have that book information we spoke about as it defaults from your class and category, but you can, again, can always change it. You can also break it down by sub-account or do impairments directly from this screen. I'm going to scroll back here just so you can see all the information again. Bonus, section 179, all of that information is down here in the grid. You can see its acquisition and retirement information. Right here. Here you see your manufacturer model serial number. If you would like to track that, we provide those fields. This is that location tracking that I spoke about earlier. We use our location table, but if you use sub-assets, when you F3 on the field, you would see your sub-asset list. And within our system, we do a full location tracking history for you. Everywhere this asset has ever been will list on the asset history, so you can track all the different places the asset has been transferred to or moved to, as well as if you set up the custodians down here, this can pull from our custodian list or an employee list. If you track custodians, you could then come in here and pull a list and say, give me all the assets that a specific custodian has assigned to them. So say that employee is leaving the company or something of that nature. They could then be given a list, these are all the assets that are assigned to you, please give them back. You can also break an asset down, or you can also depreciate bulk assets. So say this was 10 units or quantity of 10, you could break out one of the units and retire it and continue to track the remaining bulk. Then this box over here gives you the SL information where this asset originated from. So if you pull in the information from the AP record screen that I will show you in a little bit, then you would be able to see the original voucher, and you could actually drill down to the original voucher. You could see the original vendor, the check number. If it came from a PO, you could actually display the PO. This will be all your original SL information that will come over from the AP record screen. Then over here we have some additional functionality. We have an attachment feature. This is not the attachment feature in SL, but an attachment feature that comes within fixed assets. It's our file attach. You could drag and drop whole files. You could scan pictures in of the assets. You can just attach standard attach functionality and track whatever you want to the asset and sub-asset level. We also have a signature pad that works with the system, so if you want somebody to actually physically sign the signature pad to sign out an asset, we do have that capability. We have a fixed asset service or maintenance module that you can buy for an additional charge that will allow you to track maintenances on assets, schedule maintenances on assets, and things of that nature. And then you can split assets or dispose of assets directly from those or the main screen. Then some other fields that you can track. We have warranty information, currency information, units of production, tangible personal property lease information. This screen shows you all transactions that have ever occurred within the asset. This is a note screen. You do have your standard notes at the asset and sub-asset level, but we just give you an extra place to keep notes if needed. And we have your vehicle information. So here you can see all the different fields for the vehicle information or lease information if you are leasing your vehicles and want to track that. And we have that custom tab that we set up with those custom fields that we mentioned. So you can, this is where those custom fields would come into play. Then we have a fixed asset schedule where once you run your depreciation schedule, you can see the whole life of the assets schedule here. We've done that so that when running your depreciation, the schedule is already generated so that you do not have to run the system as long. It very much speeds up the depreciation process. So you are able to have the schedule. We recall the schedule for budget purposes from another screen, as well as if you need to change the schedule, you would just run a life-to-date process. So that is over here. And then let's see if there's anything else on the screen. No, I think that's all that I'm going to go over on our fixed asset screen. So I'm going to move on to the next place. This is more than likely where assets will actually be created. Most people do not create assets on that main asset screen. They want to bring in assets from either AP, purchasing, general ledger, project controller, order management. This is where these transactions are coming in from. So within the AP record screen, we give you the ability to choose the module and then the period and then hit load grid. And when you hit load grid, what it's going to do is it's going to go out to AP and purchasing and it's going to say, give me all the transactions that posted to a fixed asset account. If the transaction posted to a fixed asset account within that period, it will load this grid. It also gives you some other filters if you want to drill down to the transactions, but I just loaded it by everything in purchasing for this period and I loaded the grid. Now when that happens, you have some options. You have this over here, set up asset, yes or no. And as you scroll across, you can see all of the different fields. Some of them have to be filled in if you choose to create an asset. Some of them are optional. But what if you got all the way to the end of this and figured out that this transaction should not have even posted to a fixed asset account? Well, the first thing you can do is, excuse me, the first thing you can do is put in the correct expense account and sub-account information and process, and it will move or create the transactions, moving the transaction out of the fixed asset account into the new expense account and sub-account. You can also, within this screen, create an asset by saying yes, and then you would, if you do not fill in any information here in the asset ID, it'll create a brand new asset. If you want to update the asset, you could F3 here, choose the asset you wanted to update and hit OK, and then you could either create a sub-asset for it, or you could choose to update the sub-asset that's already existing. And then if you scroll across again, you can fill in the information that is needed, but you see all the information grayed out means you're not going to be able to change it, and that information is going to be the information that goes into that portion of the fixed asset main screen that I showed you that has the original SL transaction information. See, you can change your transaction description for the name. You can change the class and category. You can split the assets. So say this is 10 laptops. This is actually a transaction for 10 laptops. Then you could say put in the number 10 here and hit split detail, and then it will automatically help you create 10 new assets from that single transaction. As you see, it puts the information that it has in there for you, and you can go ahead and create 10 new assets from that one transaction. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. Now, after you have filled out all of your information and process, it'll generate those assets in the main assets screen, and you can go in and fill the additional information that's not on that's not in the AP records grid for you. So that is our two ways of adding assets into the system. You either manually add them from the main asset screen, or you can add them from a transaction. A lot of people in Dynamics SL use the project controller module, and so there is that ability to update projects. You can update WIP accounts associated with fixed asset accounts, and then create a depreciable asset at the end of your process. Next on the list of things that I'm going to show you, I call it my next wow feature for our SL product. It's our asset depreciation. So seamless integration, pulling in your transactions from SL, and then seamless integration for posting your depreciation. Most of the time people are posting this manually or through an outside system. For us, all you do is you choose one book or all, one asset or all, or a specific category. You come down here, you choose the period in which you want to post your depreciation, and you hit calculate and depreciate your assets. That will calculate and depreciate your assets for you, and it will post it directly to the GL if you have that GL updated checkbox checked in the setup screen. It is as easy as that to run your depreciation. Now, another thing we do provide you is this monthly forecasting. If you want to see what is going to post prior to calculating it, you could run the period and print a report to see the depreciation that's going to post for that period. You can also use this functionality for budget purposes and run a report for the whole year for your budget, or just a 6 months or 3 months, whatever you want to do. And we have some different formats for the report. So this is a nice function. The forecasting module is a nice additional functionality that the product gives you. We also have, you can change methods. You can change your section 175 and change bonus change. So those utilities are included within the system as well. So that is your asset depreciation. The next thing we will show you is, let's see, your asset transactions. Oh, hold on. Get up to the top here. Here's your asset transaction. So every time a transaction is created for an asset, it goes into our asset transaction screen that I showed you on the main asset screen as well. This screen is usually used for three main things. The first, if you can look up a batch, you can see what was debited or credited and what the batch number was it came from or went to. The second thing is that if a batch started in our system, you could reverse the batch. If it has to start in our system, but if it started in our system, you can reverse it. And the third thing is purchase adjustments. Sometimes people have different base for tax and actuals, so you can come in here and either reduce the book up or down if needed. So that is what this screen is used for. The next functionality I'd like to show you is our Rainbow Search module. Now, our Rainbow Search module gives you the ability to look for information in SL based on this color legend. Now, I do have Rainbow Searches for all of the main modules in SL, AP, GL, AR, Inventory, Purchasing, Project. It's called Rainbow Search because of the colored legend at the bottom. And what you're able to do is you're able to say, give me shift $, any asset that in the description has the letter T. And you could hit find, and then anything that was in the system that had a description that started with the letter T would generate in this, would generate in the grid, and you could see all the information on that asset. So I'm going to scroll. There's a lot of information here. Now from here, you could export whatever information you have generated in the grid. You could export it into a pivot table if you would like. So we do give you the ability to export it into an Excel pivot table and manipulate it from there. You can use this, so give me all assets for a class and category. You can say, I know it's, a truck, but I know it's a specific model. So depending on what you're looking for in the system, this gives you an easy way of tracking down information. Also, those PCL, those custom fields that you created, you can track, you can report back or pull information out on those as well. So again, this search functionality comes with fixed assets, but if you are interested in that functionality for any of the other modules in SL, we do have that as well. Next, I want to talk about our asset close screen. So if you're doing work in process or construction in progress, you can use the asset close screen. It'll close the WIP account and create a depreciable asset for you. So we do give you the ability to do that directly from here. And then we also have your fixed asset transfer screen. So if you are transferring assets from one company or one location to another or one custodian, you can do the transfers here, and this screen will create the transactions for moving the asset from one place to the other. You can also move one asset at a time or a group of assets at a time using the asset transfer screen. Asset inventory. We do provide a full inventory tracking system that does use, the system will create barcodes for you, as well as if you choose, you can use an MT2070 batch scanner or an MC9190, which is a real-time scanner, to actually print the barcodes, label your assets, and then do tracking using the scanners. Now, the batch scanner is usually just for inventory, where you're scanning a room, uploading the batch, and then moving the assets from, say, its right location to the wrong location. I mean, from the wrong location to the right location. The real-time scanner 9190 has to have Wi-Fi, but you can actually move assets directly from the screen. You can change its location, you can change its custodian directly from the screen. So the barcoding functionality and the inventory tracking functionality comes within the system, but you do have to purchase your scanner separately, as well as you have to print your barcode labels from the system on whatever type of label you choose. Our system comes loaded with some sizes of labels, but if you don't choose to use those, we probably have to customize a report. Then the last thing I'm going to talk about is our fixed asset reports. I scroll down here, we have a lot of fixed asset reports. A lot of them have multiple formats, and if you would like, we will send out a fixed asset user guide. So there's a copy of all of the reports in our user guide with all of its different formats. I'm just going to review some of these here, the most popular ones, and then I'll pull up some. But again, all of our reports are crystal reports. So we have just a standard asset listing. Shows you the asset, all the asset depreciation books in the system, your asset location history, so where the asset has been, your AP records report, if this report will show you what's come over from the SL module, your asset trial balance, both regular and period sensitive, just like you have an AR or AP. The Auditors Report, this is a rolling report. It gives you the beginning balance, acquisitions, dispositions, and ending balance for both the asset account and accumulation depreciation report. We have transaction reports. There's a bunch of transaction reports in here. We have a GL recon report. This is nice because what it does is it compares the balance in fixed assets with the balance in your GL. And if there's a difference, it tries to identify something you forgot to post or something that was on hold, something that was different between the two systems. So that report is nice for helping you figure out what might be different within the two systems. We have those asset labels I spoke about, your barcode labels, lots of different vehicle reports. We have lots of different vehicle reports. The physical inventory checklist. If you don't choose to use the barcoding, but you do want to do some type of physical inventory, that we do provide you with a physical inventory checklist. Billing invoices, let's see, retired assets, tax forms. We do the 4562 and the 4797. We also do budgets for WIP, tangible personal property tax returns, and then we have logs. We have a lot of logs. Anything that happens in the system gets a log. And then these are just standard reports that show all your different maintenance screen setups. So last thing I will say before, let me pull up the auditor's report for you so that you can see what this report looks like. It's one of the most popular reports within the system. And it's still thinking. So let's do a print preview here, and this is the class and category format. So I needed to change this to landscape, I'm sorry, but this is what the auditor's report looks like. And then for importing purposes, we have two ways of getting assets into the system. We provide, Plumbline Consulting can provide import services. Your partners a lot of the times can provide import services, or you can use transaction import to import assets into the system. So just depending on how you choose, there is different ways to get your existing assets out of your old system into the new system. So with that, I'm going to open the floor to questions. So if you put your questions in the chat box, I'd be happy to answer them for you. The cost of fixed assets is $32.95 with 19% maintenance for the first year and 17% after that. And here's a question. More about the book codes, what they really track. Okay, so so for your book codes, I will pull the screen back up for you. Book codes, here you go. Let me make it bigger so you can see what it really tracks. So all of the information for our assets is stored in a book code. So actual is usually used for your internal depreciation. You can see, or I have it? Actual is posted to your ledger. You can have as many books as you want, so you can track a tax book, an AMT, a state tax. I don't really know what else. Typically you have one book for your internal processing. Usually it's done by maybe a GAAP basis, but this book normally posts your depreciation expense to your GL. So if that is answering more of your question, if not, I can maybe get with you offline and answer it a little better for you. Just let me know. Has unanswered questions. Let's see. Trying to having a problem seeing the questions. Hold on one second. Let's see. It's not letting me see the questions. I'm going to stop the recording right now so that this doesn't keep going on. Hold on one second.